You ever have one of those nights where the air's so thick, it feels like you could slice it with a butter knife, and then, out of nowhere, three dudes in fake police vests are stomping through your gate, tossing you against your own truck like you're some clueless ranch hand instead of the guy who actually owns the dirt they're standing on? Yeah, that happened to me. And the best part? I let their leader get real close before I whispered, "You didn't just cuff a landowner. You just kidnapped the state attorney." You should have seen his face go white, like milk left out in the Texas sun. I leaned in again, just for good measure, and told him, "Pray the sheriff gets here before I start correcting your mistakes." That, my friend, was the moment everything changed. Not because they believed me. Guys like that, they never believe anything until a badge is staring them down. But for half a second, just half a heartbeat, they paused. And in a fight like this, a little hesitation is all the truth needs to start digging in its claws. But let me back up a sec, because folks don't usually get snatched off their own porch by a homeowners association, not in Texas, not in any place with a working sense of shame. Sage Creek HOA, though, that wasn't a normal bunch. These were bullies in khakis, hiding behind clipboards and weaponizing bylaws like they'd been blessed by the governor himself. The night they stormed my place, the moon was cutting through the cedar like a blade. My dog, Duke, big old mutt, good heart, started growling that low warning only ranch dogs have. I stepped out, coffee still in hand, and found three shadows coming at me, vests, patches, hell, community enforcement in block letters. You want to talk about comedy? Except, nobody was laughing. Their ringleader, minty breath and all, said, "Mark Hale, you are under community arrest for violating HOA compliance orders and creating a hostile environment." I just sipped my coffee. Didn't blink. He shoved me into my truck, real cuffs, cold, steel, tight. I didn't fuss. You see, when you've spent your life dealing with real criminals, 3 weekend warriors in matching vests don't shake you. I said, "You really want to do this?" And he just barked, "Shut up. You don't get to talk." So I grinned, slow as a sunrise, and let him have it. "That's where you're wrong." Dropped the truth. And everything stopped. Silence rolled across my land. Just the wind and a distant dog barking. For the first time, these guys realized this wasn't ending with a warning or a fine. It was ending in a courtroom. And I never lose in a courtroom. People ask why I stick it out here. 20 acres of cedar and dust, fences held together by 3 generations worth of sweat and stubbornness. Truth is, I never saw it as living out here. This was home. My granddad broke this land out of nothing, his boots and his will. My dad tightened every bolt I still tighten today. I grew up running barefoot through hay fields, thinking the whole world smelled like diesel and fresh-cut cedar. To folks like me, land isn't just property. It's a ledger of every man who ever bled for it. And my ledger's full. Things were simple until Sage Creek Estates showed up. All those fancy city folks, perfect driveways, imported mailboxes, paid extra for the country charm, then pitched a fit when they got mud on their shoes or heard a cow before dawn. Didn't bother me at first. New neighbors, new faces. I'm not against change. What I do mind is attitude. The idea that because they'd arrived, I was supposed to change. That their rules somehow trumped 3 generations of my family's dirt. First, they saw history and called it mess. Saw legacy, called it an eyesore. Visual cohesion, that was the phrase. I laughed when I heard it. Laughed less when they started sending drones over my cattle, suggesting improvements, and showing up at my gate with that HOA smile. One morning, I met Karen Steedwell, the queen bee herself. She and some fella in fresh boots, not a speck of dust on them, showed up waving a clipboard like it was a badge. "We're with the welcome committee," she said, standing on my land without knocking. I walked to the gate, took my time, made them sweat. She went on about aesthetic, cohesion, and property value stability. The guy nodded along like a bobblehead. "Which community would that be?" I asked. "Sage Creek Estates. Our development runs adjacent to your property." "Adjacent ain't the same as included," I said. She didn't like that. She talked visual contrast, said folks didn't like seeing my barn or my cattle near their yards. "The cows were here before. Your mailboxes," I reminded her. She switched tactics, cooperation, improvement zone, zoning law. Her tone got sharp, real condescending. People like you don't always understand zoning law, mister. Hail. I smiled, slow, let her see she'd poked the wrong bear. After that, drones every other day. Guys with measuring wheels out by the fence. Emails, then letters, complaints about my non-standard. Fencing, livestock odor, visual disharmony. And the real kicker? Fake county inspectors showed up. Wrong seals on their paperwork, wrong forms, even the wrong county signature. I let them dig their hole. They admitted, accidentally, they were contracted through the HOA. Impersonating a public servant, third-degree felony in Texas. I logged every detail. Never interrupt, an enemy win. They're busy incriminating themselves. I started gathering evidence, trail cams, audio recorders, logs. Because I realized this wasn't nosiness. It was a squeeze, a long con. All to make me snap. First. But I wasn't the one about to break. Twist came courtesy of Alex Turner. Nervous as a stray cat. Board member. HOA shirt wrinkled to hell. He showed up shaking. Handed me a scratched-up USB drive. Emails, meeting notes, money transfers, developer agreements. Even a memo labeling me non-compliant obstruction and promising I'd be neutralized. Karen had taken HOA drama and turned it into a criminal racket. Kickbacks, forged maps, annexation plans, all wrapped up in landscaping lingo. Next day in court, Karen tried to muzzle me with a doctored video, wrong file dates. Edits all over it. I tore it apart in front of Judge Rollins. Karen went pale. The judge ordered a formal investigation into the HOA's filings. Karen wasn't done. She was angry, cornered, desperate. And desperate people don't act careful. That night, 3 enforcement officers in fake tactical gear showed up to arrest me again. They cuffed me, tried to drag me off the porch. Right up until Sheriff Tom Alvarez rolled up. Real badge, real authority. He took one look and called it. Put your weapons down. You're under investigation for kidnapping, armed wrongful confinement, and impersonating a public servant. You never saw 3 men wilt so fast. Karen called mid-arrest, screaming on the phone, and Sheriff Alvarez let her know. Come in tomorrow or get picked up. Conspiracy, evidence tampering, kidnapping. Her whole world crumbled. Next morning in court, all the evidence laid out. Forged annexation maps, developer kickbacks, illegal enforcement. The judge sent Karen to holding, forwarded RICO charges up the chain. Her kingdom collapsed, and the neighbors, well, most came around. We didn't know what she'd been doing, they said, hat in hand. I told them, now you do. That's what matters. By sundown, word had spread. Even the developers were lawyering up. Sheriff Alvarez offered me a job. I just shook my head. I like my trouble. Predictable. Fence lines and cattle don't commit felonies. Drove home. Sun setting gold over my land. Duke running by the truck. Everything finally quiet. Maybe for good. Maybe just for now. Because HOAs like Karen's, they're not rare. They're just loud. But the law? The law's louder. And out here, if you want peace, sometimes you have to fight for it. Not with fists, not with guns, but with truth, with proof. You know what I mean? So go ahead, tell me down below, when it comes to justice, where do you draw your line? Ever tangled with an HOA? Or stood your ground for what's right? Drop your story, your state, your own fence line. Because in the end, peace isn't the kind you pray for. It's the kind you earn. And I don't just understand the law, I write the indictments.